Hey traders, Nick Shaheen here. First of all, I'm a big fan of technical analysis. I don't do anything without checking the charts. Let's put it this way. And I'm not a trained analyst. I'm not a trained technical chartist, but I'm pretty good at picking the right stuff, and I'm pretty good at reading charts. Um, I I rarely get surprised by something that I didn't see as a scenario. So if you give me a chart, I can plan around it. So I've been seeing notes and reading pontifications out there, if that's a word. Everybody has an opinion. So I want to caution you to not just see something fancy and fall for it. So there's an email that goes out, and I deal with hundreds of traders every day, and so I get a flood of information from everywhere. So this person forwards me this email. Look what I saw. What do you think of this? This is an opinion. They send me a link to an article. I skim a few, and some catch my eye. And this one email somebody forwarded to me, very well thought, huge email. So if you read it and you're marginal with the information, the dissection, you would take the opinion and take it as gospel. You go, whoa, of course. So what I'm telling you is, you see what you want to see often, and somebody told me that, and it stuck with me. And let me share with you just one thing that I just saw, and a chart. This is, first of all, this is the this is the Nasdaq, and you can see the trend is with the bulls. Maybe it's a top, maybe it's not. Maybe this is a head and shoulders, maybe it's not. So this is what somebody forwarded to me. So the chart was like this. It's part of a long email, by the way. Very well thought. Clearly, they put in a lot of work. And I have issue with some of the lines they draw. Not because they're bad, but it seems like they want to tell a story of sorts. So they highlight things and they ignore highlighting the same things on the same chart, which is pretty strange. So the point is, they're showing me head and shoulders, and they don't point out that there are at least two other instances on there that are just as flagrant, almost identical. So I point out to this correction here. I think this was the March correction. Very violent Nasdaq March correction. You remember when everything just fell off a cliff? This time, not everything is falling off a cliff. A lot of things, but not everything. So they highlight the fact that, oh my gosh, look, head and shoulders. First of all, they don't pick the headline, the neckline correctly, but I don't care. I'm like them. I'm not that accurate, not that precise. But so I know what they're saying. But they say that there's a head and shoulder forming, maybe. Then they also highlight a moving average and that we're below it. Okay, so let's take these 2 points. I contend that there's a head and shoulders here slightly bigger. So you get one poke that failed, one bigger poke that failed, and a smaller poke that failed. All came back to the same neckline, and it failed. More so, they failed below the same line they drew by a lot more. And look what transpired afterwards. They recovered, they retested, and they blew out to new highs. Instance 1. So let's pick another zone. I don't know. How about this one? Arguably, this is an inverse cup and handle. You can see a rally big, came to test the red line, bumped up, and then crashed through the red line, crashed through the same green line that they drew, and then what transpired? A new high. That's 2 instances where you had a bearish pattern, you have a broken neckline of a bearish pattern, and a breach of the moving average. I think that's the 100-day moving average, and then that transpired. So what I'm saying is, don't read something and be so impressed that you don't poke at it. So okay, we may have a head and shoulders here. It may have triggered downside, maybe this much eyeball. And I'll talk about that in a second. They may be breaching the 100, but that's fine. So pick your bottom that you want to buy, because this is support. It was a wall. It was a wall. They fought over it. They blew through it. It's okay to test it. So it doesn't mean that this is the end of the bull market. It doesn't mean I have to go in all short. It doesn't mean I have to capitulate out of all stocks. It just means that I should be somewhat cautious and selective. So the Nasdaq futures below the 100-day. So what? It's happened several times before, and breaking below key support. This is the line I guess they're talking about. We have key support right below it, key support right below that, key support right below this. There are a lot of key supports. Every pivot zone is a key support. Is that a head and shoulders? Yes, but so what? Not every head and shoulders fill to the max, and if it does, it doesn't change the underlying macroeconomic conditions. In other words, we have trillions of dollars floating in the economy. It will take something really, really big to break it. So here's the bottom line is, listen, read, investigate, don't just accept. What is that saying they say? Trust but verify. So I trust the effort that's put into that email that came to me. The work is extensive, but it's an opinion on dots on the chart. So draw your own conclusions and verify. So okay, we fell below this line, and this is the trigger. Arguably, this is the Qs. The other ones were the Nasdaq futures, I believe, the NQ. So arguably, the breakdown started already here, and the downside scenario 360 to 380, 20 points ish from 360. So 340 should be the target, ideally thereabouts. Look, I have one orange line here and one orange line here. If we get here, start sniping a really big entry. Those are my two lines. Meanwhile, this is a zone that could have support throughout. So all we need is for sentiment. Sentiment is fickle. Investor sentiment, not the technical sentiment. Investor sentiment, meaning everybody you talk to, they're all bearish. At least I talk to, and I talk to hundreds of people every week in the chat rooms. So there is this public opinion out there, and there is fact on the chart. So you can draw lines anywhere you want. So be leery of trend lines. They show you, oh, look, it's breaking trend. Whoops, I can't do that. I have too many lines. So I'll do it by hand. So I keep the lines because they're short term. So on a 60-minute chart, it doesn't look that busy, trust me. So because I share them daily. So we say, oh my gosh, it broke trend. Okay, so you drew the line there. Why not here? Okay, those are two lines. Connecting two lines doesn't make a trend. It's just what you're trying to say. People draw lines of things they want to say. See, there are a few emphatic things. One, failing points are not judgment calls. This is where it failed. This is where it failed. This is where it broke out. This is where it bounced, and it's failing. These are emphatic points. There's no interpretation. They bounced, they try to hold and failed. Now, when they come back, it's going to be a fact. They have to fight for it on the way back. And if they don't, they come back here, and now we have a bigger head and shoulders. This is a shoulder, this is a big head. So be leery of, oh my gosh, it's going to the moon, to hell, and be leery of what happens on the bounce. There's going to be sellers up here. So onus is on the bulls to fade a little bit, but then overcome it. Otherwise, they risk coming down here and then talk to me about head and shoulders. Yes, then the downside is this much, which will bring us down to here. But that's not the plan. Just the plan is to know the lines and trade accordingly. So the only truth is level. This is truth. This is subjective. That's my opinion. So other people can do harmonics, and some people make fun of harmonics, and other people believe them wholeheartedly. I've seen them work enough to I don't make fun of them. I think the problem is you have to be a specialist, and if you use them consistently, then you become successful. And it's more about extensions and trends. Then I'm okay with it if somebody knows how to do it or has a software that does it for them. But the only truth I know is level. This is the truth. This is the truth. This is the truth. I'm not interpreting. Bounce, and then never came close to it. So bounce, and now here we are losing it. Look, it repeats itself. Look at this. This is an absolute failing point, and it came back to play here, and then and look, I don't make this stuff up. So these are hard truths, not interpretation, facts. So somebody could have drawn the line here, like, oh, we're still far from breaking trend. No, we broke trend up here, man. What are you talking about? So just interpret the stuff honestly, not what you feel. So I feel bullish, but I'm not going out there loading up trades left and right. I'm trying to find some stocks and tickers that have fallen into support. Then it makes sense to take a flyer on them if my assumption that the overall market is going to stabilize. Don't just blindly follow somebody because they have cool charts and a long email.